is primarily people of color. People don't realize that actually Hillary Clinton won Gwinnett County. Yeah, now, a lot of people don't realize that. So we're here, but we're not really united. We could be better united, and that's our focus. Let's look at the political landscape. It's highly divisive. You look at people are always saying, well, this is the left, and this is the right, and this is Republican, and this is Democrat. It's kind of like we're talking about a different species of people, highly divided. And that's at the national level as well. And here in Gwinnett, we are divided, and we need to be united. Children of color are being discriminated against. I'm going to show you some statistics we got as it relates to school suspensions. It's going to raise the hair on the back of your necks when I show it to you. And last, the lack of governmental representation. Let's look at two entities. The County Commission. You have a 5 members, Bill? Board of Education. 5 members. So we have 10 elected officials on those 2 respective boards. Now, I haven't been in Gwinnett that long. Some of you probably been here a lot longer than I have. Have you ever seen a person of color serve on either one of those boards? You know, lack of representation. This very country that we live in, the foundation of it was that if you're going to tax us, King of England, and not let us be represented in your parliament, we'll create our own country. So the cry for this country, its mantra was, you can't tax us without representation. Now, we don't want to start another country, so don't misunderstand. But what we're trying to say is that we would like to have, and it's incumbent upon us to have more representation. And if we don't have more representation in terms of elected officials, who do we blame? That's shame on us. Shame on us, you know. So if the status quo is that we don't have any people of color serving as elected officials, shame on us. That's our fault. That's totally on us. That's something we need to address. So I'm going to look at 5 areas in Gwinnett. Let's look at education first. First thing I'm going to show you is the graduation rates. These are 2015 data, but they're pretty accurate. If you look at those, the true measure of any educational system is weighed on the number of students that they graduate. If you look at education, education is a business, and their product is a student walking across the stage with a diploma. That's the end product. That's what they want. What's the graduation rate? And you look at this at the national level, roughly 60% of the black males who enter school, after 4 years of high school, they don't graduate. You look at Gwinnett, roughly about 50%. Oh, they're going to say it's a little bit higher because sometimes they use what's called the lever rate. They give you 5 years. But these data, I didn't create them, from the SHOT report, reflect 4 years. So when a kid comes in as a freshman, 4 years later, half of the black males don't graduate. And it's not an indictment just against Gwinnett County Public Schools. Look at the other school systems. Clayton County, 36% of the black males graduate. Atlanta Public, 38. You know, and here again, this is something where if we sit on our thumbs and accept this, shame on us. And what can we do? We can unite and have our voices heard. Now, and we're not, and speaking in the church, there are 2 kinds of hammers I like to say. There's a velvet hammer, and then there's a steel hammer. Our organization isn't about using a steel hammer. We're not about being confrontational. We're not about violence or anything like that. But what we are about is accountability and transparency. And when people know that you're watching them and that you're going to ask questions, they perform better. As a parent, if you're watching your child, that child behaves, doing what he or she is supposed to do. If you never pay them any attention, they're going to go off the rails. You know, same thing in Gwinnett County. We as black men have got to start watching, expecting transparency, and asking questions. That's education. Let's look at another one. Student discipline. These are not my figures. About 20 of us went to the Board of Education meeting on the 17th. And they gave a presentation on student discipline. Look at the long-term suspensions. These are disciplinary hearings. When a student misbehaves, goes before a hearing officer with the recommendation to be either expelled or sent to an alternative school for a semester or two. There were 1,514 hearings during the last school year. 807 looked like me. And you factor in the Hispanics, 421. Between the two of them, 81% of the disciplinary hearings involved black or Hispanic children. Now, again, no one asks questions. If no one expresses any concern, it's going to continue. But this is where we have to, like my brother said, we have to reclaim our community. If we don't do it, who else can we expect to do it? Goes back to the Black Wall Street. When black brothers get together, when black men get together, they can move mountains. But if we sit on our thumbs and continue to be disjointed and fragmented, we're not going to get much done. Okay? That's student discipline. Local government. These are things that I extrapolated from the newspaper. This one was May 15, 2017. Federal judge refuses to dismiss Voting Rights Act lawsuit against Gwinnett. Many of you might not be aware that a Hispanic group, an NAACP, and some other organizations, pretty much when I say NAACP, I'm talking about like in Atlanta and national, saying, wait a minute, why has there never been a person of color elected on the Board of Education or the Board of Commissioners in Gwinnett County? One of the things in this complaint, that's a federal lawsuit now, is that it's the way they draw the lines. It's called gerrymandering. You draw the lines a certain way so that you can have a conglomeration of people over here, people of color there, and they draw the lines quite often. So it makes it difficult to elect a person of color. Frankly, right now, they can gerrymander all they want, but we are in a position right now that we can elect someone. You know, we're represented throughout the county. We'll get to that in just a moment, a little bit more. But this article was the county commission and the school board contacted the federal judge and said, why are you even listening to this lawsuit? Throw it out. The federal judge said, no, we're going to hear it. So that's being litigated as we speak. Local government again. This happened August 23rd, day before yesterday, and it made me proud. Gwinnett elections officials send out first ever bilingual mass mailing to voters. In other words, the Georgia Association of Latino Elected Officials and Justice, who are also a part of that federal lawsuit, so you know what? We're going to send out some letters to all Latinos and Hispanics in Gwinnett County. We're going to tell them what they need to know to register and where to go to vote. And since November, because of what they're doing, their grassroots effort, they have increased the number of registered Hispanic voters in Gwinnett County by nearly 6,000 more. Why can't we do that? It's a rhetorical question. We will. We will. But the power of the people. And if it's something that we see that we need to do, we can do it. So I was just ecstatic when I saw that. I said, the Latino community has gotten to the point they say, well, you know what? We better step up to the plate, especially when you consider what we have in White House. We better step up. Now, if we're going to wait around for him, and his henchmen to do it, the Hispanic community said, no way. We're going to beat him in the ballot box. That's the power. Going back to that one picture I showed you in 1965, you take away a man's voting ability to vote, he has no voice. The power of the ballot box. If these officials in Gwinnett County realize that we are a force, and we are a force to be reckoned with, and you need to access us while you're campaigning, that's very powerful. You know, the power of the ballot box. Now, local government. Oh, this is just this week as well. One of Bill Dodd's buddies. Okay. Gwinnett magistrate judge resigns after Facebook comments about protesters in Charlottesville. We all know what happened in Charlottesville. You got the neo-Nazis and the KKK. I looked at it on TV and I'm like, my God, they got on camouflage, got automatic weapons, shields, helmets. On a little small, well, it's not a small college, but a college campus. In other words, when you think of college campus, you're thinking about, to me, children. Yeah, just kids. Yeah, these grown men looking like Gestapo soldiers. But that being said, this judge posted on his Facebook, he said, the nutcases tearing down Confederate monuments are equivalent to ISIS destroying history. There was some backlash. Now, obviously, he got the backlash. People rose up, and the chief magistrate judge said, you got to go. Your best bet is just to give us your resignation. We've already gone through this with Tommy Hunter, and it hasn't been settled down yet. And here you're going to come out and say something like that. How are the people in this community going to feel? Tommy Hunter, he calls Democrats demon rats. Tommy, guess what? In your district, you have Democrats and Republicans. You serve all the people. You don't divide them. I looked at Judge Hinkle's wording there, nutcases. That's the same thing Trump said about Comey, the FBI director. These little dog whistles that you have to listen to. He, in essence, was saying, I support what those Gestapo troops were doing. His credibility is lost. There's no way he could have served as a magistrate judge in Gwinnett County anymore. He did the right thing. But the point I'm trying to make is, all of this is what's happening in Gwinnett. Here's the last thing about Gwinnett. Gwinnett teachers charged with sex assaults. This was recent. All black males. Let me say categorically that if they're guilty, as far as I'm concerned, they can put them under the jail. I have no tolerance for that, and I don't support it in any way, shape, or form. But what I want to draw your attention to, you see 4 black men. We need to look at that narrative. Oh, by the way, there were 2 white teachers guilty of the same thing at the same time. Don't see that picture. Also, never hit the paper. Gwinnett County's chief operations officer was asked to resign. Wasn't with the child, but fraternizing with employees. Let me put it that way. So, that being said, why wasn't that in the paper? My point is, there are stereotypes attached to black men. This does it no good. This is the narrative that would be projected. Oh, you get these blacks in schools, they don't know how to act, and they're going to do this, that, and the other. I don't condone. I categorically condemn everything that they've done. But what we have to do is we have to be equitable in terms of our reporting in this community. And if no one asks the questions, well, what about A, B, and C? Why are you just going to plaster those 4 guys on there? What about the others? And maybe some media outlets, I know it did hit national news with the white female when they actually showed her in court. I saw that on CNN, and she blamed the student. Oh yeah, she said the student talked her into it. He He's like, I quote, he was like a car salesman. Yeah, did you hear that one? He was like a car salesman, and he just talked her into it. Judge didn't buy it. Judge didn't buy it. But I have a wife, I have daughters. And the quickest way to get my ire up is to mess with my wife or my daughter. So I categorically say, I totally condemn what transpired. My only thing is, let's look at the narrative. Let's make sure that the reporting is accurate and equitable. Otherwise, when you look at that, say, oh gosh, 4 black guys. You know how they are. Yeah. So I only share that for that reason. Again, I'm going to say it for the 5th time. I don't condone what they've done in any way, shape, or form. If they are guilty, and in our society, you're innocent until proven guilty. If they are guilty of those allegations, throw the book at them. Okay? So Gwinnett County needs help. No question about it. But there's a distress signal here, SOS. Help is on the way. And what we started doing, a group of brothers and I, back in January, and the 3 that are in here, myself, and a core group of about 5 others, we said, you know what? Let's apply for a charter or a chapter to be have a chapter of the 100 black men here in Gwinnett. I'm getting too excited here. So we applied. Contacted the headquarters in Atlanta. They said, no, can't get one. Why? You already have one. It's called North Metro, and it serves 3 counties, Cobb, Fulton, and Gwinnett. I said, I'm not interested in Cobb and Fulton. I'm interested in Gwinnett. And he said, well, you got a chapter with 65 men. I said, that's not impressive. If you can't get but 65 men out of 3 counties to be in an organization, shame on us. So I pushed them. They said, well, you can't have it because we can't have 2 chapters within 30 miles of each other. And the same on and on and on again. I said, oh, okay. I get it. So we decided to create our own organization, and we created the Black Men United for Children and Humanity, and we are incorporated and we are recognized and licensed in the state of Georgia, so chartered in the state of Georgia. My purpose tonight is to pique your interest. We want you to support us, to join us. As I've indicated, we have no ulterior motives. We only want what's best for our community. When you hear the word Black Men United for Children and Humanity, we talk about all children and all of humanity. We want to be a voice for all underrepresented. So, again, sometimes people might say, well, you're just an organization that's focusing on black. No, we're focusing on underrepresented citizens. Everybody. So, that being said, what is our mission? Our mission can be captured in the acronym MAIL. You'll never forget it once I tell you. M-A-L-E. The M stands for mentoring. We're going to focus on mentoring. I've often said, I can never forget, my wife and I would always say, there are certain things that she could teach our daughter that I couldn't. I've never been a woman, and she would come to me with the son. That's your area. So that being said, we have a lot of kids in the community who don't have the benefit of both parents, and they need mentoring. They need someone to put them on the straight and narrow path. Our kids are fundamentally and basically good kids. Going back to that 807 that went before a disciplinary hearing, I guarantee you half of them never should have gone. They have some subjective rules like being disrespectful. Well, what is being disrespectful? What's the definition of that? Sometimes, it's very subjective. And my daughter's so high strung when she was growing up. She expressed herself. And we allowed her to express herself, and she did it within the context of, well, this is how I feel. She's not attacking anyone. She's expressing herself. And sometimes when you have teachers that can't cope with that, they say, oh, he's been disrespectful. Little Frederick is attacking me, Speaking of teachers, what percentage of the teachers and you can check this out, Google it when you get home. Our teaching force in this nation, I won't even ask you, I'll tell you, 80+% white. Mostly female. That's it. Goes back to what I said. I can't tell, how can they tell a little black boy how to be a man or not be intimidated? And our kids sometimes, they're young, they think that they're getting over, but ultimately the teachers are killing them. The power of the pen. Things that they're writing down and destroying their records. So oh yeah, I told her off, and I did this and I did that, and I'm just writing them up. And the next thing you know, by the time these kids get in about 7th grade, you think they're gangsters and criminals. Especially that's what's reflected in their record. And what can really destroy them when they go to college. There are certain things that if a college sees, they're going to say, we don't want you. And trust me, when I say the power of the pen, sometimes the language that they use can be highly misleading. Again, mentoring. So those are some of the things that we've got to do and we want to do. Advocacy. We want to be advocates for all people, specifically or particularly those who are underserved. We have so many Hispanic people living in the shadows now, and I'm so glad to see our Hispanic brothers are doing what they're supposed to do in terms of voter registration and things of that nature. Trump said today, I believe, or yesterday, that the dreamers, the kids that came over here with their parents and have been here forever, Trump saying, y'all got to go back. How are you going to take a little 12-year-old who's been here 11 and a half years and say, now you're going back to El Salvador? El Salvador, who? So these are some of we've got to be advocates. There's certain things that we can and cannot do, but one thing I've always said, and I think we've always said, I don't know the answer, but I get it for you. So if someone comes to us and we don't have a canned or a ready-made answer, we'll say, we'll get it for you. We'll advocate for you. Okay? We'll put you and steer you in the right direction. Local government, self-explanatory. I think Bill Dodd and some of the brothers shared something with me. It still resonates with me today. A group of concerned black men went to the county commissioner, Charlotte Nash, and they had some concerns. Guess what Charlotte Nash's response was? What took you so long? Telling you, Bill? Is that correct? That's correct. I've been waiting for you all. Y'all was sitting back, y'all might not be interested. Yeah, just taking it. Where you been? Oh, you're here now. So in other words, if they think that we're satisfied with the status quo, the way things are, and we don't need any change, guess what we're going to get? No change. None whatsoever. But again, it goes back to the power of black men. When they get united, I don't know of anything more powerful. There's no joke. A friend of mine would say, he says, he's a Cuban guy. I won't mention his name since this is being streamed live. He knows who he is. He knows who he is. He said, Jim, if you see 5 blacks or 5 Cuban guys walking together, they get scared because they think that's a game. But if you see 5 white guys coming, oh, that's the Boy Scouts. We laugh, but there's a kernel of truth to that. There is some truth to that. Oh, I'm sorry. So what happens when you get in these pulpits? But I'm gonna hurry up and get out of here. And education. Yeah, obviously, our mission is to be advocates for education in our community. And again, as you can see at the bottom, a strong voice for all underrepresented children and citizens in Gwinnett County, all of them. So, I like that picture. The picture was taken August 17th. If you can only imagine, this was when we kind of unveiled ourselves. We went to the school board meeting. We didn't go to the evening session. You can get lost in the crowd. We went to the work session. And that's not all of us. I think there's about 6 missing. There's close to about 20 of us or more. And we went in there, and we walked in. Share something with you that was, I still smile about it. They know me because I've worked in Gwinnett County Public Schools for 10 years. I know all of the board members, met with them in executive session, even on live streaming. I don't have a problem with J. Alvin Wilbanks on the board. It's nothing personal. So let me put that on live streaming. But what I have a concern with is that goes back to what Charlotte Nash said. Where y'all been? We hadn't heard from you. We want all segments of this community, Gwinnett County, to hear from us so that they'll know what our concerns are, so that they won't say, well, I didn't know you were concerned that was a concern of yours. We have to eliminate that I don't know or I didn't know. We will let you know. It was so powerful, going back to what I was saying, when we walked in single file. They asked me to introduce. This was their meeting. I didn't want to commandeer their meeting, so I introduced about 3 of us, our elected officials. Because, again, I didn't want it to be about us, so we sat down. About 5 minutes later, one of the board members says, Dr. Taylor, I'd like to hear from each one of them. Let them stand up and introduce themselves. And I said, no problem. And when they started to introduce themselves, pastors, retired executives from Exxon Oil, law enforcement, I mean, the list went on. They had to get a feel for who are these men. They got a feel for it. These are not just a bunch of guys who are coming here with their heads in the sand who are clueless. This group knows what's going on, and they're going to not only command, but they're going to demand respect. So that's just to let you know, we rolled out. That's not all of us, about 5 or 6 missing, but we went in there, and I think they got a sense of where we are. We were not aggressive or anything like that, or adversarial. That was not it. As a matter of fact, they flocked to us. You know, the word is respect. When they got up out of their seats and started flocking to us, it's out of respect. They said, okay, these people, these brothers, they know they're on the ball. So, very briefly, and I'll wrap it up. Like I said, we have 4 specialty areas: mentoring, advocacy, local government, and education. I won't spend much time on that. This is how we're organized, which is the key. How do you do business? It's kind of like, I'm not an artist, but one of you could probably draw the perfect airplane. You design it, it's beautiful. But does it fly, or can it fly? You can design anything, but you've got to implement. So we have a design. This is our design, and it shows you how we're going to implement those 4 pillars of our organization. Those 4 pillars are mentoring, advocacy, local government, and education. So you look at the very top, there's our board of directors. Yours truly, the president. Then we have all of our elected officials in green. If you look at the operations officer, our operations officer, I think I need to update that, will get a mentoring committee. I'll update that. I can't get a mentoring committee. So when a new member comes in, we'll ask them, what is your focus? What would you like to work on? You know, at my age, I'm not interested in mentoring. I've mentored all my life. I'm interested in something else. Then we have our vice president, who's over the advocacy committee, and so forth and so on. So they're divided into these 4 areas. And the elected official, the public relations, like Larry, the parliamentarian, the vice president, operations officer, will meet with these groups, and they will design and develop a plan, an action plan for that year. They will set 2 goals. Here's a hypothetical goal, but I don't think it's going to be hypothetical. The local government committee might say, you know what? One of our goals this year, because there are going to be 2 vacancies on the school board, is to groom someone to run. And our first action step might be to just sit down and the brothers just kind of brainstorm. Who do you know? Who do you think? Let's narrow it down to 5. The next step might be to bring those 5 one at a time and gauge their level of interest. Then you get to a point where you get them registered. Then you get to a point where they start campaigning. But we ask each committee to set at least 2 goals. I won't set them. They don't set them. The committee sets those goals. It's similar to the way our government operates. We have over 500 representatives and 100 senators. So when you put all of them together, how does the government operate? Well, you have the Foreign Affairs Committee. You have the Budget Committee, the Intelligence Committee. So what they do, they're broken up and work on various committees. And that's how you get the work done in those committees. That's how we get the work done in those committees. And those committees are working now. They're here to recruit you tonight to serve on one of those committees. And to bring your thought, your enthusiasm, your experience to help develop these plans so that we can get out and be about the business of serving as advocates for the underrepresented citizens in Gwinnett County. So that's how we operate. Nothing ever falls through the cracks. We'll meet monthly, and there's a placeholder every time we meet. Committee has to give an update. Even if there's no update, if they say, well, we've done A, B, and C, nothing serious to report, but we're moving along. Nothing ever falls through the crack. They understand that's a placeholder. Every time we meet, the committee gives us an update. We have a copy of your action plan. You said by November you're going to be here. Oh, you're ahead of the game. Or you need to speed it up. You know? And everybody will have access to those. So again, what those committees do is they get together and they decide, what is it that's broken in our area that we can repair or replace? That's what it boils down to. And by getting everybody together, and if we get them from all facets of the community and the county, they can bring something to the table. Well, you didn't know something is going on over in this community that we really need to work on that. Oh, I didn't know. We have to address that. And what we want to do is to be visible. One of the things we want to do coming up very shortly is the next time the county commission has a meeting, we want to sit in there. We want to meet with the police chief, the sheriff. We want to be visible in this community. We're building a website. Lots of things. Okay. Why be much? My last sales pitch. We are a certified Georgia nonprofit corporation. We were established on March 21st, 2017. That's when our articles were approved. We've adopted bylaws. The Secretary of State has a copy of our bylaws. Okay? We are strongly committed to our mission and purpose. We have a wide spectrum of members from various professions. You know, I like the idea that we can get different perspectives. Now, I don't want a bunch of just all educators or all businessmen. I want everybody. You know, we want a different perspective so that we can get those perspectives together and develop a plan. So, again, we have a wide spectrum of members from various professions. You can see that. And we have a brochure. We would like for you to fill it out. And if you're interested, we're not going to twist your arm, but we're going to try to coerce you. And if we haven't convinced you, then it's not for you. Let me give you an example, and I'll close on this. I went to a barber shop, and we spoke to about 5 brothers there. I won't mention the barber shop. It was your barber shop. It was your barber shop. One of the barbers said, yeah, man, and we want to be able to go down to the police station, if necessary, take our shotguns down there. I said, you're not with us? I said, okay. I said, I tell you what, I said, be much in for you. No, 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 no. I talked, but I didn't recruit. You know? See, be much isn't for you. No, not at all. So, any questions? I'll be happy. And with we have 3 elected officials here, and among the 4 of us, if you have some questions, we'll see if we can answer them. Yes, sir.
Did you ever go to Rockdale County School?
No, no. We're only interested in Gwinnett. We're gonna stick with Gwinnett. Maybe in the future, as we expand, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but hopefully in the future, I'm looking 5 years down the road, maybe Rockdale County will have